Well, there was a report about home ownership rates, and home ownership rates is very, very important for Black Americans. If you do not own a home, you are put in a bad position because, especially when you looked at the situation with rent, when you rent and lease, these landlords can raise the rent 2 and 3 times, especially, when they were getting ready to want to gentrify someone, they will do this. So home ownership is very, very important. They also make it very difficult as well to own homes. Now, back before the crash of 2008, it was very easy to obtain a home. I actually obtained my first home during that time period. It was so easy. I just turned in my financial information, put down $500 to hold the home, and they paid the closing costs. They paid everything. And I ended up getting my $500 back. I mean, it was a slam dunk situation to get that house. Believe it or not, it was. And I didn't have no 800 credit score. But after the crash of 2008, which was caused by bankers, Obama made it extremely difficult to get a home after that. Obama did that. Thanks, Barack Obama, for making it harder for Black people. You know what I'm saying? You didn't make it harder for others. You sure made it hard for Black people. But this is, what I want to talk about here. So it said home ownership rates for white, Asian, and Hispanic Americans reached an all-time high in 2020, but fell to 43% for Black families. Now, they say while overall home ownership rose in 2020 to 65.5%, Black Americans continue to face substantial home buying challenges, according to the National Association of Realtors. It's a home ownership in the U.S. had its largest annual increase on record in 2020, up by 1.3% from 2019. They say, in fact, U.S. residents are more likely to own a home now than any year following the Great Recession. They say, however, home ownership rates are not equal among buyers. They say Black Americans' home ownership rate decreased by nearly 1% to 43.4%. They say in 2020, and in 2010, the home ownership rate was 44.2%. They literally have kept us at the same home ownership rate in the past 10 years. Now, I say by contrast, white folks have the 72.1% rate, Asians 61.7%, and Hispanics 51.1%. Now, say Americans reached new highs in home ownership in 2020, say the report says, with Hispanic American home ownership reaching above 50% for the first time. Now, they say that housing affordability and low inventory has made it even more challenging for all buyers to enter the home ownership. They said, but even more so for Black Americans. They said, meanwhile, Black U.S. residents are spending a considerable amount of their income on rent. They say about half of Black families spend more than 30% of their monthly income on rent. In addition, 28% of Black renters are severely cost burdened. They say compared with 20% of renters. So they say to help close the racial wealth gap, it said NAR and other organizations, including NAACP and National Urban League, are working with the Black Home Ownership Collective, whose 7-point plan is to increase Black home ownership by 3 million by 2030. They said they need to focus on home ownership counseling, credit and lending, home ownership sustainability, housing production, civil and consumer rights, marketing, research, and down payment assistance. I'm going to tell you right now, to help Black people get into homes, the main thing they're going to have to do is down payment assistance. They have to crack down on the banks with the lending, because Black people are denied, even though when they have good credit scores, a lot of them have been denied. They need to find out how many people are being denied, look at it by race. They got to do that. And if they don't do that, it's still going to always be this way. In America, the issue with us is sabotage. I told you that's the key word with Black people. Every step of the way, we're being sabotaged. This is why I'm a firm believer of, if you can have something elsewhere, do something elsewhere, because the playing field is a lot easier, sometimes other places versus here, because no matter what amount of money you make, they make it harder for you to obtain a home if you're a Black person, period. Now, if you can get a good person at a bank, some people, hey, they cut for you or whatever. Awesome, right? Awesome. Or sometimes you got to come with more money than what probably you should have came with sometime. But that's very, very important, because if we don't have homes for our children. We can't leave anything. And listen, you got to have some sort of land. That land can generate wealth. Because let's say during during this crisis with the pandemic, they were telling people, hey, you didn't have to pay your mortgage for 18 months, but renters were still on the hook, right? And now when they say they had the rent moratorium, okay, now they want all their money. People that own homes, they don't have to pay all that money because they just put that 18 months on the back end of the loan. That's all they did. And they just pick up their payments. So if those people that own homes were smart, and a lot of them were, they were stacking that money, stacking it. And then they had like capital to do a whole lot with. You can only do that when you own a home. And it's so much harder to own a home because, yes, when the interest rates was 0%, everybody's trying to buy a home. Now they raise the interest rates up. Now you're going to start to have some inventory of homes that you're going to start paying, but they have to kind of raise the interest rates because inflation is kind of crazy. I mean, they got to balance it out because inflation will go crazy if they don't raise interest rates. But black people definitely need the definitely down payment assistance. Credit, that's definitely important. Those two things alone, down payment assistance and credit. If you can get people's credit where it needs to be and teach black people what they need, because we have a lack of education too. It's why. And that's why going to public school, they teach children, they don't teach them anything. They teach them nothing. Our home ownership rates haven't even gotten better even since the 1960s because they always want to keep black people from being home owners. But it's something that you should focus on is getting a home. Or maybe you're a person that's in real estate that flip homes. Or you should be very concerned about this. Once again, every other group is above black people now. Every other group. And once again, what are your Democrat friends are doing about this? I remember Biden said in his Lift Every Voice plan that he was going to give $15,000 down payment assistance to black people for home ownership. He ain't said nothing about anything, now has he? He's giving the bag to everybody else. He's giving hate crime protections to everybody else, but he give black people nothing. And this is the people that you want to go out and vote for. Every other group is getting above black people, living their American dreams while you still living an American nightmare. This is why we say you can't vote for these people right there. Every aspect of your life is going utterly down. And every group is passing you. People that just came into this country is passing you. Why? Because they're passing you by design. It's not that you're lazy. It's not that you don't want a home. It's not that you don't want to provide anything. It's just they set up to sabotage you and make sure everybody else have things. And also something else is obvious I have to talk about. When we have a lack of family structure, it also, affects it because when you have a marriage, in a marriage, there's more income, period. When you have 80% of our children born in single parent households, it's going to make it difficult. So this is why it's very important for us to focus on family and getting families together. Whether a man and a woman getting together, or even if a man got some children, a woman got some children, and y'all having a blended family, do that too. But that's the only way you're going to make it is family, because nobody wants to be a family. Everybody want to run around here just laying down with each other. And this is why we don't get nowhere. And other communities that's still focusing on family and making that a priority, they always going to zoom past us every single time. Even Africans, a lot of them still believe in family. So as long as you got a family structure, you're going to do good, period. The black people who do very well, a lot of them are families. And we got to push that as, the important thing to do, period. But y'all let me know in the comments y'all think about this, story here where other groups have just passed us up in home ownership and, what we going to, do about that, because your Democrat friends, like I said, not only reparations, but they need to break bread on down payment assistance.